Story starts with our main character killing a warrior on a battlefield. But it turns out that warrior was already dead, and he has only 35 minutes left. After the battle ends, the main character wanders around the battlefield to find survivors in this place filled with nothing but corpses. Our main character used to live in the human world, but he was terminally ill. After his death, he was born in this world full of swords and magic. The only problem is that the world he belongs to right now is a lot different from normal isekai novels. Our main character is getting desperate as he has not even found a single survivor for days. All of a sudden, he hears some shallow gasps of a survivor. The survivor is in a lot of pain and he's begging for someone to help him. The main character stabs him to death and he receives 20 plus hours for this kill. Main character says that maybe this guy was an ordinary farmer, that's why he got only 20 hours, and at this rate, he will not even last a single day. Someone saw him killing the survivor and he comes up to him. This person is quite heartless, and he makes his way to our main character by stepping on the faces of dead soldiers. He informs our main character that finding survivors is quite fun, and the most fun part comes after that, when the survivor begs them for help and they brutally kill him. Our main character has no idea who this crazy person is. This new person introduces himself as Soul Harvester Stefan. He further tells our main character that he just killed his toy. He gets ready to kill our main character for killing his toy. Stefan strikes the main character with his two-handed greatsword, but our MC manages to block it in time. But the force behind the attack was quite strong, so he got pushed back a little bit. Without giving any time to our MC to recuperate, Harvester Stefan strikes him again. Stefan says that soon he will rip his beautiful face apart and torture him until he begs him to kill him. But before he can continue his sentence, someone from behind slashes him into two pieces. Our main character gets quite shocked after watching these turn of events. The person who killed Stefan says that Stefan was a crazy bastard, but thankfully they got rid of him. It turns out Stefan was a wanted man, that's why these mercenaries killed him to get his bounty. The mercenary leader asks our main character if he's alright, and they tell him that he's quite lucky that they arrived on time. Our main character pulls up his weapon and the mercenaries become alerted. Without wasting any time, he pierces the heart of the Harvester Stefan with his sword. He keeps on stabbing him and the mercenaries wonder that maybe he's going through a trauma. The action of our main character was not just pointless revenge, and 100 plus hours get added into his remaining time. It turns out Stefan was still alive, that's why he got more time after killing him. Our main character is not a bloodthirsty maniac like Stefan. He only kills people because of the timer he got after he reincarnated into this world. And when this timer reaches 0, he will die. He can only increase his time by killing a living person. Even after so long, killing people makes his hands tremble and his heart pumps real hard. And he's not sure if he can keep on living like this. The mercenary leader takes pity on our main character and he tells him to join their mercenary squad. One of his underlings say that he's just a kid, but the mercenary captain shuns him by saying that this kid blocked the sword of Stefan, which is quite a huge feat in itself. Our main character asks them if he can kill people without remorse after joining their mercenary squad. The mercenary leader says that no one can get used to killing others. Killing others is not normal except for some perverts like Stefan. But he can make his life easier after earning a lot of money. Plus, he will keep getting stronger if he joins them, as they are constantly summoned to take care of trashes. Our main character gets up and he tells them that he's ready to join them. The mercenaries inquire about his name. Our main character introduces himself, Lewis, the Soul Harvester. After 2 years, a mysterious person inquires about the Soul Harvester from an inn owner. The inn owner says that he remembers him well, and he can't forget him even if he wants to. About a month ago, he met him in the territorial battle. At that time, the inn owner was a serf soldier under the Viscount Ber. He further says that the Soul Harvester was a knight, and he heard that the power knights use is different from magic. These knights are also known as chosen humans as they can use aether. The very presence of a knight on the front lines is a great fear for the soldiers. Ordinary soldiers couldn't even think of imitating the movements of a human who uses aether. In front of the sword of the knight, the poor serfs were like easy to slice cheese. But the serfs still didn't run away, as they knew they also have a trump card against the knight. The serfs had the best knight squad of Viscount Ber, which consisted of Lord Jackson and 8 knights which are known as the Knights of Ashen Mist. The only person who can kill a knight is a stronger knight. A knight called Nell took on the Soul Harvester by himself, and everyone knew about the great accomplishments of Knight Nell. They knew for sure that notorious Soul Harvester will die by the hands of Knight Nell on this battlefield. But their thoughts changed when they saw Knight Nell getting cut in half. No one expected this outcome, and silence befell on the battlefield. But at that time, this old inn owner was close to him, and he clearly heard what the Soul Harvester said. He said that he has accumulated enough time and he will use 1,000 hours. Then he called out the god of war Raum to lend him power. After that, something unbelievable happened. Soul Harvester slaughtered the entire order of knights of Viscount Ber within the next 30 seconds. After that, inn owner along with other serfs started running away from the battlefield. But when he turned his head, he saw something otherworldly glaring at him with his red eyes. At that moment, he felt like the Soul Harvester had not enough and he wanted to kill more humans. The person who was inquiring about the Soul Harvester asks him if the Soul Harvester ate something suspicious, but the inn owner says that he has no idea about it. The mysterious person gives a coin to the inn owner for his cooperation. The inn owner asks the mysterious person if he wants to know about the name of that mercenary. The mysterious person says that he already knows that mercenary is known as Louis de Lossy, aka the Soul Harvester. Plus, he has recently gotten famous, so he must be celebrating his victory. At the same time, in another village, the mercenaries are celebrating their recent victory while Louis is checking the timer. After the recent battle, he got 1,000 hours of lifetime, but he's not satisfied with this much time. These 1,000 hours mean that he can only live around a month and a half. But at least it is better than his previous life. In the real world, his name was Min Hyuk, and he was fated to die without being able to do anything in bed. He wanted to be born in a healthy body in his next life. A god heard his wish and he brought him to this world. Instead of giving him a special advantage, the god gave him this time limit. An ordinary serf gives him a day to live, and if he wants to live for 6 months, he needs to kill at least 180 serfs. But he's not a lunatic who can go around massacring innocent civilians. One of his drunk mercenary friends tells him to snap out of his daydreaming. His drunk friend tells him that they don't know when they will die, so they should drink tonight like it's their last day. The vice captain of mercenaries comes up to Louis and he congratulates him for being the MVP of the last battle. Other mercenaries become fascinated and they ask Louis about how he killed so many knights. The vice captain is also curious about it, because those kind of bastards weren't supposed to show up at a battle like that, especially that Nell bastard who was soon going to become a master level knight. Louis says that he got lucky because those knights weren't up to their fame, and he is thinking that his friends won't even believe him if he tells them the truth. The vice captain tells Louis that everyone present here is not stupid. 4 of their mercenary brothers were killed by that Nell bastard, and he wasn't someone who can be killed with mere luck. The vice captain asks him about what he's hiding from his allies. Louis gathers his thoughts for a second. He then breaks the silence by saying that he was just joking, and now he will tell them the truth. He makes a serious pose, then informs his friends that he risked all of his life on that battle. The mercenaries are a bit shocked after hearing it, and then they start throwing stuff at him by saying that every soldier risks their life on the battlefield. The captain of the mercenaries' turn arrives at the inn, and he asks Louis to follow him, as he needs to discuss something with him. Louis starts leaving, and Vice Captain asks him to return quickly, as he needs to tell them his secret. With that being said, Louis follows Captain Turn, aka the Woodcutter, to his office. The Vice Captain tells the other mercenary to gather all knights from the knight troop. The mercenary asks him why he wants to summon them. The Vice Captain says that he is also bothered by this order, but there is some sort of odd job they need to do right now. Meanwhile, Louis enters the room of Captain Turn. Captain Turn is quite happy and he congratulates Louis for being the MVP of the last battle. Louis sits down and Captain Turn says that they just came back after a battle, but a job request just came in. Louis says that he is okay with it, as he has never refused a job offer. Captain Turn pours a drink for him, and he says that they should celebrate first, then move on to the details of this job. With that being said, both mercenaries start enjoying their wine. Turn says that Viscount Ber gave up on the battle after Louis slayed his knights, but the battle is not officially over. Normally, it's right to end the battle once Viscount Ber pays for the compensation of the battle, but just a while ago he said he wanted to meet our employer. Louis says that it looks like Ber wants to have another round before he gives up, and Turn says that he's not sure Ber don't want to pay the mercenaries he hired. That's why he's doing this, so the mercenaries on his side can die in this next battle. Captain Turn says that he knows it's a trashy move, but that's what the nobles do. And for that secret mission, Turn wants Louis to escort Viscount Bert. But Louis argues by saying that if it's just guidance and escort, then someone else can do this job. Captain Turn says that Bert has a lot of pride, but the fame of Louis far surpasses his pride. Captain Turn then gives a parchment to Louis, saying that it has the address of the contact place. Captain Turn says that this mission is quite easy for someone like Louis, but he will properly compensate him this time after this mission ends. With that being said, Louis leaves the room after saying that he will be done with this mission in a few minutes, and Turn should get his reward ready. Captain Turn wishes him best of luck and he tells him to be careful. After some time, Louis leaves the tavern and he is thinking that he is fighting on the battlefield to live another day. But these noble bastards push people on the battlefield just to save a little more money. It's been more than 10 years since he came to this world, but he's still not used to looking down on human lives. Louis sees a mysterious figure in the jungle and he asks him if he's Viscount Bert, but he gets confused after watching someone come from his back. Some hooded figures approach Louis from all directions and he's getting some bad vibes from them. Judging by their clothes, they look like the knights of Viscount Bert. Louis asks them if they are here to take revenge for their fallen comrades. As Louis is unsheathing his sword, he says that it is good that they are knights, as knights give him more time than ordinary people. Louis tries to cower his sword with aether, but later to his shock, he starts coughing up blood. He has no idea about what is going on with his body. It has never happened to him before, and he starts speculating that maybe there was poison in the drinks he had in the tavern. The knights get ready to get rid of Louis, but Louis is thinking that if there was really poison in the drinks, then he's not the only one in danger. But before he could counter the swords of his enemies, he gets pierced by them. Louis is still thinking that he should hurry up and head back to warn his mercenary friends. One of the knights say even if Louis is the great soul harvester, he is still not immune to aether neutralizing poison. But once Louis takes a good look, this knight turns out to be vice captain. His other mercenary friend is present there as well, and he tells Louis to not blame them as they are not doing this because they want to. Louis asks them if the Viscount paid them to kill him. He further says that poisoning his drinks was quite low, and they will die once Captain Turn finds out about this. But later to his surprise, his mercenary friend informs him that the one who planned and ordered this was all Captain Turn. Old memories start flashing before the eyes of Louis as he tries to think why would Turn do this to him. After gathering his thoughts, Louis says that he was the only idiot who thought of them like his brothers. Without wasting any time, the vice captain gets ready to finish off Louis in one go, but Louis catches his sword with his bare hand. Louis spends 1,000 hours of his life to buy the blessing of Raum. After the purchase, the hand of Louis starts brimming with aether. Vice captain is confused as to how Louis is using aether even after drinking aether neutralizing poison. Louis got 4 blessings of Raum. First one decreases the pain. Second one gives him 10 times strength and 5 times muscular endurance. Third one forcibly heals wounds, but it doesn't completely heal a person. Fourth one is called the Blessing of the God of War, and it switches all aether to War God's holy power. Louis remembers that in the lobby, Vice Captain asked him about how he defeated the Knights of Viscount. At that time, he told them the truth, but they thought he was joking with them. Louis breaks the sword of Vice Captain while telling him that he told them the truth, that he risked his life. The eyes of Louis start glowing red and a warning notification pops up which informs him that only 15 seconds of his life are left. The Vice Captain gets back and he yells at his subordinates to finish off Louis as he don't even have a weapon. Louis mockingly tells them to not worry about his weapon. In just a matter of few seconds, Louis teleports into the field of the God of War, where a lot of huge swords are placed into the ground. A notification pops up which informs him that he can use Raum weapons as long as his blessing is active. Louis selects a sword and a notification pops up telling him that he has chosen Raum's battle dagger, and its fee is 4 lives per second. There are only 8 seconds left, and Louis appears in the real world with Raum's battle dagger. The Vice Captain gets stunned after watching such a huge greatsword. In just 4 seconds, Louis cuts them all using his lightning speed. There's only 1 second left till his death. Before they die, Louis asks them about what type of human did they think he was during the times they were fighting together. Vice Captain tells him that there's no point in asking such emotional questions before their deaths, and with that being said, all of them get cut into pieces. After their death, 500 hours are added to the life of Lewis. A notification pops up which informs him that the Rahum's battle dagger and his blessings have been deactivated. He starts coughing up blood as physical overload is temporarily compromising his ability. Lewis says that this God of War buff is quite stupid, as it helps him just enough so he don't die. Lewis is still thinking whether all mercenaries belonging to Turn betrayed him or not. He thinks that they have been comrades for so long that there must be at least one person who will be on his side. But something unusual happens when he returns. It turns out the whole tavern they were staying at is on fire. A survivor comes out of the rubble and he asks Lewis about what he's doing here. He requests Lewis to run away as Captain Turn betrayed them. He says that Turn made a deal with Viscount Ber, but he gets cut down in half before he can complete his sentence. Captain Turn comes out of the rubble and he compliments Lewis for defeating his underlings and returning even after drinking aether neutralizing poison. He further says that maybe the vice captain was so weak that Lewis must have killed him without using aether. Lewis yells at him asking why did he kill his allies, and wasn't his goal to only kill Lewis? Captain Turn says that Lewis must be joking as today he didn't even kill a single one of his allies. He further says that he have just simply gotten rid of obstacles to his goal. Lewis shouts at him saying that everyone in the mercenary guild thought of him as a family member. Captain Turn says that since Lewis is the last one left, so he will tell him everything about his deal with the Viscount Ber. Viscount Ber promised him a noble title for abandoning this shitty mercenary army, and if Captain Turn had left his subordinates alive, then they were destined to meet him in a different territorial war. Lewis asks him if this is the reason he decided to kill them. Captain Turn compliments Lewis for his good work thus far, but he cannot trust the mercenaries because most of them are from the streets. Lewis has heard enough, and he asks Turn if this is all. After not getting an answer from Captain Turn, Lewis starts attacking him. He is trying his best to take care of Captain Turn without using aether, but Captain Turn is not a pushover either. Both of them keep on attacking back and forth using all of their raw power. Lewis puts all of his force into his next attack, and he manages to push back Captain Turn a little bit. Captain Turn says that he was going to give him a painless death, but his plan just changed. Captain Turn imbues his long axe with aether and informs Lewis that he is one of the heroes that made a name for himself in the Holy War 50 years ago. Plus, in terms of experience and skills, he is on an entirely different level compared to Lewis. He further tells Lewis to watch carefully, as this is the ultimate ability that earned him the Woodcutter nickname, and it's something that can wipe everything in a 20-meter radius as if they are all trees. But before he can even yell out the name of his ability, Lewis chops him into two pieces using his aether-covered sword. Captain Turn still can't believe that Lewis can use aether even after having the aether-neutralizing poison. He dies after saying that the potential of Lewis is limitless. Lewis looks back at the dead bodies of his mercenary friends who were truly loyal to him till the end. 2 years is the time he spent with Turn's mercenary group. It's the same as the time he spent in the hospital waiting for his death. Lewis starts moving through the rubble and collecting the swords of his dead comrades. He then buried them all in front of the tavern. Somewhere inside, he knew that nothing lasts forever and a day would come when he would leave this mercenary squad, but that moment came too early. The average lifespan of humans is 80 years. A human can live 3 minutes without air. 3 days is the time one can live without water. 3 weeks is the time one can survive without food. And then there is this time counter which only exists for Lewis. Lewis needs to keep on taking lives in order to live another day, and in order to live like this, what he only needs is an eternal war. Meanwhile, after some time, a bald guy informs Lewis that what he needs to live is not war, but money. He further informs Lewis that he has a total debt of 8,600 gold. Lewis shouts at him saying that he never borrowed money in his life, but the bald guy informs him that he recently lent something. The building his mercenary squad rented was burned yesterday evening. Lewis asks Baldy as to why he needs to pay it back, and the bald guy tells him to look at the paper. It turns out those who joined the mercenary squad sign a pledge of joint guarantee responsibility, which means he is the one who is responsible for repaying the damages. Lewis shouts at him as he never signed such a thing, but bald guy tells him to carefully look at the paper. Lewis becomes shocked after seeing his signature present on the paper. In the past, when Lewis was drunk, Captain Turn asked him to sign something. Lewis signed it right away, thinking that it was just an application to join their mercenary group. Lewis says that at that time he didn't knew about this contract, and the bald guy tells him that he should be careful before signing something. Lewis tells him that this is a scam, and what can the bald guy do if you don't have money to pay him back? In a matter of a few seconds, the entire room gets filled with tough guys who put their swords on the neck of Lewis. The bald guy informs him that if he cannot pay them back, then first he will be stripped of his status as a mercenary, which means he will not be able to receive mercenary status in this country or any other place. Secondly, a public bounty will be issued in his name, so mercenaries from worldwide will be targeting him. He further tells him that magicians pay a big amount for the organs of a knight who uses aether. The bald guy gives 1 minute to Lewis to make his decision. Lewis informs them that 1 minute is more than enough to take care of all of them. He further warns them to put away their swords if they don't want to die in vain. The bald guy tells him that he was kidding, and he was just simply explaining to him what might happen in the worst case scenario. Before Lewis can pull out his sword, the bald guy says that they can settle on something that is more mercenary-like. Lewis can make money by practicing loyalty and fighting for one's life. This morning they got a request from Viscount Ber promising a huge reward. It's about dealing with illegal armed forces in the Black Forest owned by Viscount Ber. The bald guy already sent a few expeditions, but they have always failed. On the other hand, Lewis is thinking that it hasn't been that long since Viscount Ber was his enemy, but today he is his employer. Lewis is thinking that he needs to get rid of armed forces, which means he is dealing with a group. The reward for this quest is unreasonably high, considering the recent loss in the territorial war and the compensation paid. Viscount Ber shouldn't have much personal funds left. The bald guy asks Lewis to give him the paper back if he can't do this job, but Lewis shouts that he will do it. After Lewis leaves, the bald guy shouts at him saying that he needs to come here and give an update after every 3 days, or else a bounty will be placed on him. The bald guy is thinking that with this he solved that problem, but he feels like he forgot to mention something. All of a sudden he remembers that the Black Forest is a place where demonic beasts appear, and he should have warned Lewis about it. After some time, Lewis comes face to face with a demonic beast, and he says that the bald guy should have warned him about things like this. Lewis already knew that monsters exist in this fantasy world, but this is the first time he encountered one. Lewis is wondering, since these demonic beasts are considered living, maybe they will increase his lifetime. Lewis checks the system, and it turns out each one of these monsters gives him 60 hours, which is much better than killing humans. Lewis still remembers the first time he killed a person. Those memories still linger in his mind as if it happened yesterday. He was no longer Min Hyuk, who lived in Korea, but Lewis, who lives in this brutal fantasy world. And to live, he had to constantly kill other living beings. The most scary thing was that he had to keep killing others. He thought maybe he will become someone like them, who took human life as a resource. But regardless, being alive gave him a worrying sense of relief. Soon after, that sense of relief didn't last more than 2 weeks as he kept on slaughtering people to increase his life. And right now, while fighting these demons, he recalled those memories that he had almost forgotten. Lewis is wondering if all demonic beasts are like this, and there are plenty of them in this world. Maybe he can now live without killing people. Once this job is done, he is thinking of becoming a beast hunter. The mysterious person appears there, and he says, "Beast hunter my ass, you don't even understand what's going on." He further says that Lewis barely made it to the entrance of this forest, and he tells him that not everyone can become a beast hunter. Lewis says that he won't know unless he tries, and he asks the mysterious person for his name. The mysterious person says that he is the beast hunter that lives in this forest. 50 years ago, demonic beasts appeared throughout the continent without any trace of origin. There are many different species of demonic beasts, but most of them display aggressive behavior toward humans. The high-ranking demonic beasts are on par with knights, and some can even surpass them. Some demonic beasts even have special abilities, and those unlucky few who hunt these monstrosities are called beast hunters. The beast hunter comes down and he informs Lewis that there are a few rules among the beast hunters. The first rule is to not hunt on someone else's territory, no matter how low-ranking the demon beast may be. Beast Hunter says that he is a generous fool, so he will let things slide this time, but if it was another hunter, then Lewis had to take him on. Lewis informs him that he's interested in hunting the demonic beasts, but he's not interested in the loot. He has a few questions for Mr. Beast Hunter, so he asks him if he knows anything about the illegal armed forces in this forest. The Beast Hunter informs him that there are just beast hunters in this forest, and the Viscount keeps on giving them such names. Lewis tells him to get ready, but the Beast Hunter is not sure what he needs to get ready for. Without wasting any time, Lewis tries to strike the Beast Hunter with his sword. Lewis tells him that he has no hatred for him. He is only doing this because he has no other choice. The Beast Hunter is not a pushover, and he grabs the sword with his bare hands. The Beast Hunter says that Lewis must be a mercenary, but he's alone this time. Usually mercenaries come in groups in this forest, but all of them fail to capture him. The Beast Hunter mockingly tells him to put more strength into his attack, and Lewis is thinking that this bastard is holding his sword without any care for Aether. The Beast Hunter compliments Lewis for his spirit, but in the past, during the Holy War, there were numerous talents like him. Lewis starts gathering Aether, and he is thinking that this is the second person talking about that Holy War. After gathering Aether in his sword, Lewis strikes the Beast Hunter with a quick step attack. But it turns out his sword imbued with Aether broke after that strike. Lewis looks back in shock, but he gets no time to sink in what's going on as the Beast Hunter punches him in the chest. That punch attack was so fierce that it blew Lewis a few meters away from his initial position. At last, Lewis crashes into a rock, and his mouth starts bleeding due to the shock. But before he can come back to his senses, the Beast Hunter approaches him at a lightning-fast speed. Lewis tries to pull out his short sword, but he gets punched really hard by the Beast Hunter. Lewis tries to strike him with his short sword, but he fails to do so, and the Beast Hunter says that he has started to like his personality. Lewis falls to the ground, and the Beast Hunter says that he didn't want it to go this far, but he got a little bit more excited than usual. The Beast Hunter has no idea about what he should do to Lewis, and if he leaves him here, then he will be eaten by the demonic beasts. The Beast Hunter checks his hand to find out it is bleeding. The Beast Hunter gets excited to find out that someone finally managed to hurt him after so long. He says that he found quite an interesting guy. In his dream, Lewis is thinking that he hates this world where he must kill to survive. He says that he wanders around the battles to find some survivors to increase his lifespan, but he don't want to kill these innocent people if possible. A half-cut body of Tern appears there, and he tells Lewis to drop his act, and even if kills half-dead people, but they are still living people. Lewis has been lying to himself all this time, and Tern tells him to look at his face when he kills those innocent survivors. Lewis is giving off a creepy smile, and Tern says that this is his real face when he kills innocent people. All of a sudden, Lewis wakes up in a room. There are a lot of people around him, and they become a bit relaxed after seeing him wake up. Lewis screams at them to tell him where he is at, and the Beast Hunter tells him to lower his volume. The recent screaming of Lewis reopened his wound. Lewis starts shivering in pain, and a person asks the chief about how hard did he hit him. After hearing them call him chief, Lewis inquires about his identity. The Beast Hunter introduces himself as Guilford, and he's in charge of all beast hunters in this town. Guilford welcomes Lewis to the Beast Hunter town, and he informs him that it's been 3 days since he arrived here. Lewis is shocked to find it out, because the Baldy told him to report to him after every 3 days, and if he fails to do so, they will put a bounty on him. Lewis is thinking that he is totally screwed now. Lewis introduces himself as a former mercenary to Guilford. Guilford informs the others that this mercenary didn't even knew about them, and he tried to pull this task off alone. Everyone present in the room starts laughing at the stupidness of Lewis. Lewis grins his teeth as he don't have much to say since he got beaten up by a single guy. Lewis checks his time, and there are 617 hours left, which are not enough to trigger the blessing of God of War Raum. But if he focuses on killing the weaker ones, then he will accumulate enough time to receive the power of God of War, and then he can instantly kill Guilford. But he's not sure if he should do it, as he don't even know if the request period failed after these 3 days or not. He keeps on thinking hard about his next move, but then Guilford snaps him out of his thinking bubble by saying that his life must have some problems going on. Lewis previously said in the forest that he wanted to become a beast hunter, so Guilford asks him if he wishes to become a member of their town. Lewis asks him about what this sudden overflow of kindness is, as he just beated him up a few days ago. Guilford says that he's not going to let him stay for free, as he will need to earn his keep by hunting demonic beasts. The demand for demonic beast items is quite high. Their meat can be used to prepare a variety of dishes, and other parts can be used as decorations or tools for magical research. Lewis is thinking that demonic beasts give a lot of lifespan, and he can earn money on the side, which is like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Guilford thinks that Lewis is interested in it, so he says that they should have an entrance test for him. He pulls out a demonic beast poster and informs Lewis that a stone ape demon lives in the west part of the forest. Although Lewis sucks at fighting, but he should be able to beat one of them. Lewis is thinking that this should be easy, and Guilford further informs him that the skin of this demonic beast is used to make leather, so he must be careful not to cut it. Lewis says that this is going to be an excellent morning exercise and he will go catch one right away. But when Lewis arrives at the location, he badmouths Guilford for not telling him that these stone ape demons are 4 meters tall and they live in groups. They look too fierce as compared to the drawing, which do not does justice to their ugliness. The stone apes attack Lewis first. He manages to dodge the attack by leaping back. Lewis inflicted some wounds on the stone ape demons, but these bastards can regenerate their wounds. The stone ape screams at him like a gorilla, and Lewis screams back at him by saying, "Are you an ape or a gorilla? You should stick to one thing." The stone ape goes for another attack, but this time Lewis is fully prepared. Lewis blows his head off using his aether-covered sword. The wounds of the stone ape stop healing, and his lifeless body fall down to the ground. Lewis says that these stone apes are tamer than he thought, and he's going to get rid of others one by one. He further says that at this rate, making money and earning a lifespan would be a piece of cake. After the fight, Lewis arrives at the village and Guilford tells him that he is stupid and he cannot make any money. Lewis says that he caught 3 of them as Guilford instructed, but Guilford tells him to think carefully as to how he's going to sell their skin if there are so many marks on their leather. Stone apes lose their consciousness when their necks are cut, and if their bodies are already injured, then he has to wait for it to regenerate first. Lewis says that this is not too much hard and he just needs time to adapt to the approach and mindset of a hunter. Guilford informs him that from tomorrow, he will be learning beast hunting from David, and if he's no useful to them, then they will kick him out. Time passes by and 2 weeks later, Lewis comes back with 2 stone apes with fully intact leather. Guilford compliments him for catching these 2 in perfect condition. Slowly but surely, Lewis was getting used to this place. The cook guides him on how to butcher the beasts. After that, the cook makes stew for him. At first, he has some reservations about eating a demonic beast, but he gathers his courage to gulp it all down in one go. But something shockingly happens. Lewis barely holds himself for throwing up as this stew is disgusting beyond belief. Even the hunters who have been living in this forest for a long time can't get used to this disgusting taste. Lewis is thankful that at least he's not the only one who will die from food poisoning. Lewis no longer checks the remaining lifespan. Guilford, who is watching him from a window, asks David what he thinks about Lewis. David says that Lewis is doing fine. He still doesn't talk about his past, but he is better than the first time he arrived at the village, as he would not even eat food offered by them. Guilford says that it is understandable since the food made by Fennel is comparable to poison. He probably thought he couldn't trust them first. In the past, Guilford asked him if he thinks there's poison in the food. Guilford told him not to worry because everyone here is eating the same food. That was not all. Even when everyone slept, Lewis would wake up from time to time to check his surroundings. He always slept with a sword by his side. Except such weird acts, Lewis was perfectly fine. David says that he don't think Lewis is a spy, but he has some serious trust issues. David further says that there is still something off, as they have been losing contact with other towns in the forest, and Guilford says that it seems they need someone to check on them. Guilford orders Lewis to head over to Jonastown instead of hunting today. This is the first time Lewis heard about this Jonastown, and he asks them if there are other hunting towns like this in the forest. Guilford replies, of course there are other places. He further informs him that the Jonastown is straight to the west, and he needs to check if the people there are all right. Lewis starts heading toward west, and he's thinking that this is the first day that feels calm. He don't have any nightmares and nothing to worry about. He wishes for this peace to last longer, but this world is not like that. After some time, Lewis finds a dead body, and based on the outfit, he looks like a beast hunter. There were stab marks on him, which indicated he was killed by humans rather than a beast. Lewis gets down to properly investigate the corpse for more clues, but soon he realizes that there is a girl behind him, and he asks her about her identity. The girl gets startled and she falls down to the ground. Lewis asks her if she's from the Jonastown. Lewis comes closer while saying that he was looking for the way to Jonastown. The girl gets really afraid and she shouts out loud saying, "What did we do wrong?" She further says that if bothering them was not enough, he even brought knights and mercenaries. Some people arrive there after hearing the screams of the girl. These people turn out to be mercenaries and they were chasing after that girl. One of the mercenaries says that the face of this guy standing next to the girl looks familiar, and his underling informs him that he is the guy from the bounty post. His name is Soul Harvester Lewis, and he's quite famous for digging through the dead bodies after a battle. He further says that after annihilating members of his mercenary squad, he stole money from the mercenary guild and ran away. The girl gets even more afraid after hearing it, and Lewis asks them if this is all they have to say. The mercenary leader says that he has one more thing to ask. He asks Lewis about what he wants him to write on his will. His underlings say that they are quite lucky that they came to sweep out some fugitives, and now they came across a wanted man. Lewis tells them that they don't have class. After that, Lewis cuts one hand of first two mercenaries, and he tells them that they should always analyze their opponents before giving such empty threats. He looks back to find out that the third mercenary has taken the girl hostage. He shouts that if Lewis gets close, then he will slice this girl's neck. Lewis throws his sword and it knocks out the third mercenary. Lewis says that he just told them that this is not the correct way of threatening someone. He tells them to run away if they want to live, and they start running without any hesitation. The girl grips one hand of Lewis and says that she didn't know that he was not one of those guys. The girl begs Lewis to help her. She further informs him that those mercenaries, along with Viscount Ber's army, attacked their village. Lewis follows the girl back to her village to find out a lot of dead bodies. The girl gets down on her knees as she thinks that they are already too late. On the other hand, Lewis is shocked as well. The corpses are broken up and there are signs of aether present on them. The entire area around them has been vandalized. It's as if someone used the skill Typhoon, which Captain Turn was about to use before his death. Meanwhile, at the Eastern Hunter town, inside Viscount Ber's land, innocent villagers are getting killed here as well, and a villager is trying to squirm out of this mess. Captain Marco comes in front of him and tells him that crawling like a worm suits him well. The villager says that Guilford will take revenge for them, and then Knight Marco cuts him in half. The soldier says that it doesn't matter who this Guilford is, and they will just keep on killing anyone who goes against Viscount Ber. A soldier informs him that they got a report from the scouts who went west. The scouts said that there is a town inside the forest, and they had a battle with someone called Soul Harvester. It turns out Captain Marco already knows about Lewis the Soul Harvester. Captain Marco says that it is even better that he is here, and he needs to meet him at least once. Lewis goes back to the village to report everything that transpired at the West Post. He further informs them that the magnitude of enemy forces is different this time, because recently the Viscount has hired a lot of mercenaries for this battle. Viscount already lost a lot in the territorial battles, but now that those wars are over, he is using all he has left to attack these small towns. Guilford informs him that they have been frequently attacked by massive armies before, but none of them were big enough to make the towns fall. Guilford informs him that this time, he will take all of them alive and fuck Viscount Ber. Lewis asks him about why he wants to capture them alive instead of killing them. Guilford informs him that they are beast hunters, and they don't intentionally kill humans. Lewis says that this is alright, but they need to be careful because there is a really strong mercenary among them. If this mercenary is a man he knows, then this would be a difficult fight. Guilford says that he will be careful. Then he asks about the lady behind him, if she is his girl, and if she can fight as well. The girl says that she never fought when she was at the Jonas town. Guilford informs her that he will then assign a non-combatant role to her. There is a specific role which will suit her very well. During nighttime, Captain Marco along with the soldiers arrive at the Guilford village, and Lewis, along with the girl, are acting there as bait. The girl is still afraid, and she asks Lewis if this role of acting as bait and drawing attention outside the post is perfect for her. Marco informs his underlings that their enemies are obviously trying to draw attention with a fire near the village with a bait, so they will slowly get closer to them. A mercenary goes up to them and he tries to kick Lewis while asking him about his other accomplices. His leg gets chopped down before he can kick Lewis. He falls down to the ground and he starts screaming like a little girl. Lewis informs the girl that she has done a wonderful job, and now she must head back and hide inside the town. The girl starts retreating and Lewis says that he will take it from here. A small squad of mercenaries start rushing toward Lewis. One of them accidentally steps on a trap. The ground starts sinking and they fall into a big hole. A mercenary squad leader informs his underlings to be extra careful as there can be more traps spread throughout the area. They try to help their fallen comrades, but all of a sudden, they hear a sound from behind. But before they can do anything, all of them get knocked over by a big log. Another mercenary squad tries to run away from there, but they get trapped in a huge rope net as well. Guilford says that the soldiers these days are really stupid. He initially thought that only a few of them will get trapped, but they're just walking right into their traps. All of a sudden, he sees the knight Lewis warned them about who uses a long axe. Marco shouts at his men saying that they just need to cut the ropes using their knives. But before they can do anything, Guilford kicks them with full force, warning them not to do anything Marco says. Because if they cut the ropes, they will fall into the pit. Guilford calls Lewis toward him, saying that the guy he talked about is in his direction. Captain Marco gets stunned for a second after learning that Lewis is here. But it is too late because Lewis is already behind him. But before Lewis can strike him, Marco gets back and he blocks the sword of Lewis in time. Both of them keep on fighting back and forth using Aether. Lewis initially thought that he was Captain Turn, his fighting style using the axe, and everything else is same as Turn, but he is a little bit faster than Turn. Lewis asks him if he's not Turn. Captain Marco gets angry and he says, "How dare you mention that name in front of me?" Out of nowhere, a stone ape appears behind Captain Marco. Captain Marco is surprised to see a demonic beast in this place. The route for the soldiers who were trapped is now blocked by demonic beasts. The soldiers think that the beast hunters are not only utilizing traps but the environment as well. Guilford orders his men to stop as they need to capture the soldiers and mercenaries alive, but the beasts are killing them. The beasts keep on rampaging through the ranks of mercenaries. Guilford orders his men to get in row as they calmly need to fight back. A beast tries to punch Lewis and Marco while they are juking it out. Guilford shouts at Lewis to dodge the attack of the Stone Ape beast. He yells at them, saying that it is not time to keep fighting among themselves. Both knights are getting anxious, and in the end, they strike the Stone Ape with their combined Aether attack. On the other side, Guilford punches a Stone Ape in the face using an Aether-filled punch. The punch was quite powerful and it blew away the head of the Stone Ape. Guilford is confused as the Stone Apes don't usually come out of the forest. He looks back to find out that the beasts have destroyed the outer walls of their town. Once the smoke subsides, wolf beasts rush toward the soldiers. They start chomping on the low-ranked soldiers. The remaining soldiers are wondering what these high-ranking beasts are doing in this place. Some soldiers start retreating while saying that these wolf beasts are not something they can handle on their own. Guilford says that something bad must have happened at the center of the forest, which drove these beasts toward this outpost. Marco, along with his men, manages to cut down a Stone Ape beast. He says that the waves of beasts is endless. All of a sudden, the Stone Ape he just cut down wakes up, and it tries to punch Marco to death. But before it can land the punch, Lewis jumps up to it and he severs the neck of the Stone Ape. Lewis says that they should team up against these beasts. He informs Marco that Stone Apes keep regenerating until their heads are chopped. Marco says that even if Lewis had not told him, he was about to chop its head. Both of them get prepared for the next wave. Lewis tells Marco to not die on him as he still have business with him. With that being said, Lewis jumps toward the Stone Ape beasts. Marco starts integrating his weapon with Aether. After integrating his weapon with Aether, he gets prepared for a strong attack. In a matter of a few seconds, he manages to cut down the Stone Apes into tiny pieces. And he even targets Lewis, who manages to dodge his attack on time. And now he gets ready to take on Lewis. Lewis tries to attack him through the smoke. Marco dodges his attack, but Lewis manages to drop his helmet. Lewis informs him that this is his first and last warning. He will die the next time he tries to attack him from behind. The helmet of Marco falls down to the ground. Marco says that it is quite unexpected since the notorious Soul Harvester gave him a warning. Lewis becomes relieved after knowing that he's not Turn, and Marco says that he wants to ask him a question. He asks Lewis if his father never told him about his son Marco. Lewis asks him who his father is, and Marco informs him that he is the son of Turn, who he just slayed a few weeks ago. Lewis had no idea that Turn had a son, and he asks Marco if he wants to take revenge. Marco says he's not here for revenge. On the contrary, he's quite thankful that Lewis took care of such trash. All of a sudden, the ground under the pit trap starts shaking. Something from below blows up everyone present inside the pit. It turns out to be a new type of beast. A soldier begs for help while the beast is about to gulp him in one go. But before he can do anything, Guilford punches through the beast with his Aether-filled punch. The soldier asks him why did he save them since they are enemies. Guilford says that if he has any energy left, then he should help him save his allies. He further says that there is not any place to retreat anymore, and they should save anyone they can. Lewis shouts at Guilford saying that he must have gone nuts because these people are their enemies and they aren't any use to them even if they save them. Guilford tells him to not judge a human by their use, and they don't need a reason to save other humans. Lewis is a bit shocked, but he knows what Guilford said is correct. This saving other peoples despite the differences is called morality in the human world, while in this fantasy world it's called the mindset of a knight. But even in Last Life, and in this life as well, Lewis never saw anything like that work. Guilford is truly the first real knight he has seen in this world. Marco says this is all bullshit. He further informs Lewis that his boss doesn't know how to use people, and he asks him why does the strong ones need to sacrifice to save the weak ones. Marco tells Lewis to look at the survivors, even if they make an effort to save them. They can't even handle 1 or 2 beasts. Marco charges his two-handed axe with Aether, and he says that at times like this, we, the strong ones taking care of the problem, is the solution to decrease casualties. Lewis tells him to wait because if he uses his skill here, all of his subordinates will also die. Marco gives off a grim smile and he says that he knows it well. He uses his skill while saying that he already told him that this is the solution to save many lives. But all of a sudden, Lewis blocks his ability with his sword. Both knights keep on pushing their Aether against each other. Lewis says that Marco is a bastard who don't even care even if his allies die or not. Marco counters him by saying that he never tried to kill his allies. These soldiers are just tools, and tools are meant to be used when needed. Marco asks Lewis why he is doing this, or if he suddenly got empathy after cutting people like grass on the battlefield. And he even slaughtered his allies, which makes him an expert at murdering people. Lewis says that he is right. He don't know about Guilford, and he has no obligation to save those people who came here to kill him. After that, he mercilessly cuts down the hand of Marco, informing him that just like he said, he is an expert at killing people. He thanks Marco for clearing of pain, and he keeps on screaming at Lewis for being a pathetic loser until Lewis cuts him down. Lewis checks his timer, but it is still on 947 hours, indicating that Marco is not fully dead yet. Marco is trash as compared to Turn, but Lewis is sure he will get a lot of time after killing him. Lewis puts some Aether in his sword in order to get rid of Marco for good. He then stabs the chest of Marco with his Aether-filled sword. For some reason, Marco is still alive and he only lost consciousness. Lewis is about to stab Marco once again, but he stops after hearing a loud roar. An unrealistically huge beast demon pops out of the ground, and it starts heading toward the village of beast hunters. Lewis has no idea about this monstrosity, so he inquires about it. Guilford informs him that it's a monster called Red Bear, and it's the owner of this mountain. He usually lives on the Rocky Mountains, and he never left that place before. At the same time, a monstrous hand attacked Lewis. This monstrous hand belongs to Marco, and he sent Lewis flying off into the distance. Lewis suffered a lot of damage from this punch, and he is thinking that it is impossible. Previously, the arm of Marco was cut off, and his chest was punctured, so it doesn't make sense for him to be alive. His cut-off arm has gone through a transformation, and now it looks like the arm of a stone ape. Marco seems to be gulping up an unknown potion. He then throws the potion away. Marco says how dare a mere random mercenary call him trash. Marco gets a flashback of the past where his face got cut. It turns out his father is the one who inflicted that cut on him, and right now he is in severe pain. Turn says that Marco, you are a trash. You couldn't even block that slow attack. You would have ended up dead if this was a real battlefield. Marco is bleeding from the cut, and he asks his old man if he's crazy or if he's planning to break the head of his own son. Turn tells his son to stop whining and get up. And if he don't wants to get up, then he can just die like a trash. After some years, some random knights under Viscount Bert are calling Marco a trash-like bastard on his back. One of them says that the son of a mere mercenary has become a knight, but they are sure his skills are trash. They further explain that Viscount Bert only took this trash in because his father sold his mercenary allies to him. They keep on mocking him, which makes him angry. After some time, Marco is caught and brought before Viscount Bert for some major offense. It turns out Marco killed both knights because they were bad-mouthing him behind his back, and Viscount Bert asks him why he did that. Marco stays silent, which pisses off the guards, and they urge him to answer the Viscount. They keep on putting pressure on him until he starts speaking. Marco asks Viscount about what have the knights from his family done until now. They all just died off on the battlefield where the name of the Viscount was at risk, and how can people like them judge him? Viscount says that Marco is talking as if it would have been different if he was on the battlefield that day. Marco says that he is sure he is worth more than those knights, because he is strong and he just killed 2 of the knights under the Viscount with his bare hands, which proves his point. Viscount Bert calls him a fool and an arrogant bastard for doing this in order to prove his worth. But he further compliments him by saying that's what a real warrior should be like. After that, Viscount makes Marco the son of Turn the leader of all knights under him. After some days, Viscount Bert informs Marco that his father was supposed to be the new leader of knights. Marco asks him if that is the reason why he gave him this position. Viscount Bert says that it is not the only reason, but it turns out Captain Turn died a few days ago. Marco asks him about how his father got killed. Viscount Bert is not sure, but the whole mercenary troop was annihilated except for one man, the soul harvester Louis. Marco gives off a grin smile as he's getting a lot of benefits thanks to Louis. Not only Louis took care of those high-ranked knights, but his father as well. Viscount Bert is a bit skeptical as Marco just heard about the news of his father's death, but he's not sad. Marco says that his father used to say that people would die as trash if they are not strong enough, and now based on what he said, it seems like his father died because he was trash. Plus, Marco has no time to grieve for a trash, and hearing it makes Viscount Bert happy. Viscount Bert gets to the point, and he starts telling him about the big rock they can see from the window. That huge rock symbolizes the monsters that come out of the Black Forest. He further informs Marco that the items obtained during a monster hunt can fetch quite a huge price. Recently, Viscount Bert spent a lot of money on the territorial war, so now he needs a new source of income. But there are pain-in-the-ass rogues camping out in the Black Forest. Marco says that he got it. He just needs to get rid of these rogues. Viscount Bert compliments him for being easy to talk to, and he gives him a potion vial as a small gift. Marco inquires about this unknown potion. Viscount Bert says that it's not something that great, but it will greatly help him if he uses it to fight against a strong opponent. Now, in the present, Marco throws away the vial and he starts running toward Louis. Marco imbues his stone ape arm with aether. He then attacks Louis with it, but Louis blocks it using his sword. The pressure of their aethers is so strong that their surroundings are getting destroyed. While pummeling Louis, Marco asks him about where did his bravery go. Louis is now only blocking and Marco asks him to try and cut his arm just like he did before. Last attack of Marco was too powerful and it pushed Louis a bit back. This time, Marco gathers all of his strength to jump toward Louis. His stone ape hand is radiating a pure red colored aether. He attacks Louis with it, which in turn breaks the whole ground. But it turns out his attack got blocked by Guilford. Guilford gathers his strength and he tells Marco that he is sorry to intervene, but he's in a hurry. The punch was so strong that it made Marco fly away into the air, and his stone ape arm broke as well. Louis gets up and he thanks Guilford for helping him out, but he could have handled it himself. The tone of Guilford changes, and he tells Louis that there is no need for thanks. In just a few seconds, Guilford lands a punch filled with aether on Louis. This in turn knocks out Louis. Guilford says that he is sorry, but this monstrosity is much more than what a random beast hunter can handle. After that, Viscount Bert's soldiers start running back to inform their lord about it, and Finil carries the unconscious Louis to safety. A hunter asks Guilford that Louis will be mad later on if he finds out what happened here, and maybe he will resent them. Guilford informs them that it isn't a situation where they can ask for help from an outsider, and they are the ones who should take care of this. A horrible disaster is going to occur if such a demonic beast goes out of this forest. Guilford informs his fellow hunters that even if they all get killed, they have to buy as much time as they can to let the citizens escape. Half a century ago, the Chaos God and his army came to invade the continents. Everyone on the continent joined forces against him, and had a big war that would be called the Holy War in the future. In order to avert the invasion, different kind of species gathered and eventually, they won the war. However, in the aftermath of the war, most of the races other than humans became extinct. And soon after, unidentified demonic beasts started to show up all over the continent. The protagonist of the Holy War, Emperor Choisin, ordered the nobles to share the responsibility for the problems caused by the demonic beasts. In the records, it states that numerous knights volunteered to manage the places where demonic beasts show up, but in reality, they were forced to do it by the Emperor. At that time, a knight by the name of Guilford stood up. And he asked the Emperor that he just said that the nobles should be responsible, but then why is it that young knights are the ones being sacrificed? He asks the Emperor, is this really what you want? The Emperor stayed silent without answering the question of Guilford. The High Priest asked Guilford if he wants to do this mission instead of these young knights. After that, Guilford started living in the forest as a beast hunter. But he regrets nothing. Even if he dies today, he will kill at least one big demonic beast before dying. After that, Guilford and his knights start duking it out with the low-ranking demonic beasts which were running toward their direction. Guilford says that he was kind of expecting it, but the waves of demonic beasts are becoming endless. They have not yet taken care of the low-ranking beasts, and the owner of the mountain is almost upon them. Guilford can feel the unknown disgusting but fierce aura that's coming out of the owner of the mountain. On the other side, it is not as sinister as the giant demonic beast, but he can feel the same aura emitting from the other demonic beasts as well. A pack of werewolf demonic beasts is almost upon him, but he easily rips them apart using his aether-filled fist. After that, he jumps toward a small pack of stone ape beasts. Guilford reignites his fist with aether. He then rips the pack of stone apes beasts to shreds as well. After that, he makes his way to the giant demonic beast. He is now sure of it, that the root cause of the madness of these smaller demonic beasts is this giant demonic beast. Guilford has no idea which type of aura this beast is using, so in order to check it, he punches the beast with a powerful aether punch. In just one punch, the front of his body got destroyed, which exposed a huge red gem in it. Guilford gets closer to his core, and as he was about to destroy it, it starts imitating a big flash of light. This in turn results in a huge explosion that can be seen from miles away. Fennel says that he's not sure what that explosion was for, and he hopes his boss is alright. At the same time, Lewis wakes up from his slumber. He asks Fennel about his current location and where he was taking him. He is still feeling the pain from the punch of Guilford, and he's not sure why would Guilford do that. Fennel is confused as to how Lewis woke up so early, and Lewis asks him if he was thinking that he will be knocked for 4 days like before. Fennel says that he has not much time to explain, so Lewis must listen carefully. He starts explaining that the red giant beast he just saw is called the Red Bear. It harnesses aether in the magic stone embedded in its chest, and its size is so big that it is considered a disaster rank beast. Guilford is the one who ordered Fennel to escort Lewis out of this forest. Lewis tries to go back and help Guilford, but Fennel tries to stop him. Lewis tells him that they are allies, and he's about to tell him that if he kills a few more low-ranked demonic beasts, he can use his real power. But Fennel begs him to evacuate the people outside the forest, and he orders him to inform the Empire about this disaster. He was about to tell Lewis about the true purpose for the formation of their association, but his hand gets chopped off. His blood gets splattered all over the face of Lewis. There is a hand behind him which looks like the hand of a stone ape beast. This incident leaves Lewis in shock. This hand belongs to Marco, who is slowly transforming into a stone ape beast. And he tells Lewis that it is a shame that Fennel came in his way, or he would have been able to puncture Lewis with that last attack. He flares up while saying that it's the destiny of the weak ones, as their lives only exist as a stepping stone for the strong ones. Lewis catches the dying Fennel. Fennel is still conscious, but he cannot speak much, and he tries to tell Lewis to escape with his last breath. Lewis puts the dying Fennel down, and he tells Marco that he is correct, as the lives of the weak ones exist for the strong ones. He then pulls out his sword, and without wasting any time, he stabs it through the heart of Fennel before he can die down on his own. Marco starts laughing out loud in excitement as he thinks that maybe Lewis is also like him. But before he can say another word, Lewis tells him that he just wants to clarify 2 things. First, he didn't kill Fennel to give him a painless death. Before he can continue on to the next reason, Lewis stabs Marco with his sword. And the second reason is that he don't have to be worried about himself because both of them aren't a match right now. With that being said, Lewis cuts Marco into 2 pieces, and he tells him to not be so sad, as his life will be far more worth using. The aftermath of Lewis' attack looks quite gruesome as Marco has been completely annihilated. Lewis says that he was just like a stone ape, and now he cannot regenerate because his head has been cracked open. The time he got after killing Marco is also equivalent to killing a ton of stone apes. Lewis still has no idea how Marco got the power of monsters, but right now there is something more important he needs to focus on. It seems like the fight against the Red Bear is going in full swing. Poor Fennel wanted to send him off, but it seems like he will have to postpone his wish for some time. With that being said, Lewis starts running toward the location of the Red Bear. He used this skill at the cost of Fennel's life, so he cannot stop right here. On the other front, Guilford got pushed back quite hard. Guilford says that it would have been dangerous if he was a little slower. Now he's wondering if killing this monstrosity is even possible. Red Bear gives out another loud roar. Guilford tells his men to not be afraid and attack him together. All knights rush toward the Red Bear. They attack the Red Bear with their aether-filled attacks. But something is wrong as they cannot feel like they are doing any damage to his body, and its lower body is turning into a slime-like composition. A new type of small worm beast pops out of the skin of Red Bear, and it leaps toward the hunters. The hunters start getting wrecked left and right as more of these worm-type monsters come out of the Red Bear. Guilford shouts at everyone to retreat as the Red Bear is changing his body. The Red Bear is going through a bizarre transformation which is not common for a species. The hunters were trying to escape, but a new horde of worm monsters rushed toward them. They are faster than the hunters and they stand no chance against the worm monsters. Guilford is a veteran knight unlike these hunters, and he already witnessed this phenomena in the last Holy War. He is sure that the strange energy coming out of body of Red Bear is the cause of his abnormal transformation. They cannot win if that big red gem is not broken, so Guilford starts running toward the Red Bear. The worms try to pin him down, but he manages to dodge their attacks. But one of the worms is quite fast, and it manages to scratch the head of Guilford. The worms take this chance to gulp up Guilford in one go, but Guilford is not going down in peace. Guilford uses a powerful aether attack to tear them all apart into 2 pieces. He then does a follow-up attack on the chest of the Red Bear. The last attack was quite powerful and it exposed the gem for the second time, and Guilford needs to act fast as wasting more time will increase the casualties. Guilford attacks the red gem once again with all of his force. His punch is quite powerful and he keeps on pouring all of his aether in this one attack. But after a few seconds, reality hits him hard. It turns out even after using all of his aether, there is not even a single scratch on the red gem. Plus he's running out of time as the Red Bear has started regenerating his body. Guilford is not going to give up so easily and he opens up the regenerating chest with his bare hands. He can't waste any more time or a lot of innocent lives will be lost. Guilford starts hitting the red gem with his aether-filled head. But no matter how much hard he hits the gem, there seems to be no crack or visible change. Guilford keeps on banging his head against the red gem. He's not afraid of dying here, but there are a lot of villages right at the foot of this mountain and they will be wiped out if Red Bear makes it out of this mountain. All of a sudden, he hears a voice telling him to make less sound. Lewis comes up to him and he thanks him all for the whining, and he could hear him from miles away. Lewis tells Guilford to hold on tight as he's going to blow this monstrosity all up in one go. Lewis uses a skill called Raum Change Weapon, which can change his Raum Battle Dagger into double-sided blade of Raum. This skill consumes 12 hours of life for every single second. Guilford is thinking that maybe he's dreaming as this power is not aether, but the power of the war god Raum. Without wasting any time, Lewis attacks the Red Bear with all of his might. The red gem along with the body of the Red Bear tears into 2 pieces. This attack was so big that it made a big crater on the mountain. The deformed body of Red Bear started to break. The survivors are wondering if their boss Guilford is the one who defeated the Red Bear. Meanwhile, on the other side, Lewis says that there is something he wants to know. He knows well that if he had not came here in time, then Guilford along with the hunters would have perished. But he cannot understand why would Guilford do such a reckless thing as making a last stand with the hunters instead of running away and letting the Viscount handle it. Guilford says that a beast hunter's job is to kill demonic beasts, and why would he let someone else kill such a huge demonic beast? Lewis is satisfied by this answer, but then Guilford asks him why did he return, as Guilford already told him that he had nothing to do with this. Lewis says that he is a hunter, just like him, and why would he let someone else kill such a huge demonic beast? In his mind, Lewis is thinking that killing this demonic beast was totally worth it as he got a lot of lifetime for it. Guilford starts laughing at Lewis for brazenly pretending to be a beast hunter with this shabby ability. Guilford says that Lewis is not a good beast hunter as he just destroyed such a huge demonic beast without leaving any materials behind. Lewis asks him to teach him well so that this same thing doesn't happen again. Guilford says that he will teach him well starting from tomorrow morning, and Lewis says that he will be looking forward to it. But all of a sudden, Lewis falls down to the ground. Guilford asks him if he's okay, and Lewis replies by saying that he's not. Lewis is thinking that this happens every time the War God buff ends, and this time there's something new making a beeping sound. A new notification pops up which informs him that he can no longer use Rome's